The crystalline mountains of Terran's edge glittered under the light of 3 distant suns. Commander Sarah Chun wiped sweat from her forehead as her survey team climbed higher into the frozen peaks. Something was wrong with the scanner readings. They showed a massive energy signature where nothing should exist. "Commander, you need to see this," Lieutenant Okonkwo called out. He stood at the entrance of a cave that definitely wasn't on any map. Sarah adjusted the carrier's strap to her chest. Inside, her 6-month-old son Marcus gurgled happily. Completely unaware, they were breaking at least 5 safety regulations by bringing him along. But colony life meant making do. Her husband was off-world, and the daycare had flooded again. Frontier life had its own rules. The cave entrance was carved with symbols that hurt to look at. They seemed to shift and move when Sarah tried to focus on them. Her team switched on their lights and ventured inside. The passage opened into a chamber so vast their lights couldn't reach the ceiling. In the center, lying on a platform of what looked like solid diamond, was a creature from myth, a dragon, but not the European or Asian dragons from Earth legends. This being was something else entirely. Its scales shimmered with colors that didn't have names. Wings like stained glass folded against a body the size of a small spacecraft. Even dying, even broken, it was the most beautiful thing Sarah had ever seen. "My God," she whispered. The dragon's eye opened. It was the size of Sarah's head, and it glowed with an inner fire that made her heart race. The creature was covered in wounds that leaked something that wasn't quite blood, burns that went down to bone. Whatever had attacked this being had done, so with weapons beyond human understanding. The dragon's gaze swept across the team, then stopped on Sarah, more specifically on Marcus. The infant had gone completely silent, staring at the dragon with unusual focus. Sarah felt rather than heard the voice in her mind. It was like music and thunder combined, bypassing her ears entirely. So small, so fragile, yet so much potential. "Who are you?" Sarah managed to ask, though her voice shook. "I am Theron, last of the Valkyrie. Last of everything my people were." The dragon's massive head moved closer, steam rising from its nostrils. "The Zarketh, they hunted us to extinction. 3,000 years. 3,000 years I survived, hiding, running. They found me. Always they find us." "We can help you," Sarah said, though she had no idea how. "Our medical team." Too late for me, but not too late for hope. Theroness I fixed on Marcus again. "This child. He is yours." Sarah pulled Marcus closer protectively. "Yes, my son. May I see him? Please. I mean, no harm." The dragon's voice was growing weaker. Every instinct told Sarah to run. But something else, something deeper, told her to trust. Slowly, she stepped forward. Her team shouted protests, but she ignored them. She stood before a being older than human civilization and carefully lifted Marcus from the carrier. The dragon lowered its head until it was level with the infant. Marcus reached out with one tiny hand and touched the scales. They were warm, warmer than they should be. "So young," Theron whispered. "You will not remember me, but you will carry what I was, what we were. The Zarketh destroyed my people because we would not kneel. We believed all life was precious. All species deserve freedom. They called it weakness. They proved it was not too late." The dragon's head moved with painful slowness until its forehead touched Marcus's. Light erupted between them, not blinding but impossibly bright. Sarah tried to pull her son away but couldn't move. Energy flowed like a river from the dying dragon into her child. Images flashed through Sarah's mind. Worlds beyond counting. Stars being born and dying. Battles that spanned solar systems. Knowledge that made her head ache. And threading through it all, a feeling of profound love and desperate hope. Theron pulled back. Marcus glowed softly, then the light faded. He looked normal. He even started crying, probably hungry. "My son," the dragon whispered, and Sarah somehow knew those words were from Marcus. "My heir, my hope. When they come for you, and they will come, show them what we were. Show them what you can become, together." "Wait," Sarah said. "Who will come? What did you do to my baby?" But Ctheranes I was already dimming. Forgive me. I have doomed you and saved you, which it becomes, depends on your species. Human, such a strange name. Let us hope you are worthy. The dragon's body began to crystallize, turning to diamond from the inside out. Within seconds, Ctheron was gone, transformed into a statue that would probably stand for millions of years. Marcus stopped crying and looked at Sarah with eyes that seemed older than they should be. Just for a moment, they flickered with an inner fire. Across the galaxy, in the dark throne room of the Zarketh Empire, sensors screamed in alert. Emperor H. Karn rose from his throne, 12 eyes wide with ancient fear. "Impossible," he hissed. "The Velcari are dead. Dead." His chief advisor checked the readings again. "My lord, the signature is unmistakable. A Velcari essence transfer. Complete integration with a host. Where? A frontier world. Species designation. Human. The host is an infant." The Emperor's claws dug into his throne. "Mobilize the fleets. Find that child. Kill it. Kill them all if necessary. The Velcari will not rise again." On Terran's edge, Sarah held her son and wondered what she had just witnessed. Marcus fell asleep in her arms, dreaming of stars he'd never seen and worlds he'd never visited. The war had begun with a whisper. The galaxy would shake with the response. 10 years had passed since Terran's edge burned. The official record said geological instability caused the evacuation. Sarah knew better. She'd seen the orbital strike signatures in the classified reports before they were sealed. Someone had glassed her colony from space, turning sand into glass and rock into vapor. They'd gotten out just in time. Now she lived on New Terra with Marcus, who was supposed to be a normal 10-year-old boy. Except normal boys didn't wake up screaming about civilizations that died before humans learned to make fire. Normal boys didn't solve quantum physics equations that made university professors weep. Normal boys didn't have eyes that sometimes glowed like embers in the dark. Sarah had kept them hidden. Homeschooled. Safe. She told herself it was enough. Marcus sat in their small apartment, staring at homework he'd finished in 3 minutes. His mind was elsewhere, flying through memories that weren't his. He remembered being Ctheron, soaring to the corona of a blue giant star, feeling the heat that should have killed him but instead felt like a warm bath. He remembered the taste of nebula gas and the sound stars made when they sang to each other across the void. "Mom," he called out, "can we go to the market? Please? I've been inside for 3 days." Sarah looked up from her medical texts. She worked as a nurse now, a far cry from her commander days. "Marcus, we talked about this." "I know. Stay hidden. Don't use the fire. Don't let my eyes glow. Don't be weird." He sighed. "But I'm going crazy in here. I promise I'll be careful." She studied her son's face. He looked like any other kid, skinny with messy brown hair and a gap-toothed smile. But she'd seen him touch a hot stove without flinching. She'd watched him heal from a broken arm in 2 days instead of 6 weeks. She knew what he was becoming, even if he didn't fully understand it yet. "Fine, but stay close to me." The market was crowded with people from a dozen colonies. Vendors sold food, tech, fabrics, and things Sarah couldn't identify. Marcus's eyes went wide. He so rarely got to see other people. He wandered between stalls, touching strange fruits and asking questions about everything. Sarah was buying vegetables when she felt it, a wrongness in the air, a pressure that made her teeth ache. 3 figures moved through the crowd. They looked almost human, but their movements were too smooth, too coordinated. Their eyes were wrong, pupils that were vertical slits instead of round. They scanned the crowd methodically, and Sarah realized with horror that they were looking for something, looking for someone. Marcus stood 20 feet away at a toy vendor's stall. One of the figures turned, focused directly on him, and smiled without warmth. "Marcus, run!" Sarah screamed. The boy looked up just as the 3 figures dropped their disguises. Their skin rippled and turned gray and scaly. Extra arms unfolded from their torsos. They moved with terrifying speed, knocking people aside like they weighed nothing. Marcus ran, but they were faster. One grabbed his arm with claws that dug in deep enough to draw blood. The creature hissed in a language that sounded like breaking glass. The contaminated one. The Emperor will reward us well for your corpse, child. Something in Marcus broke. Or perhaps something awakened. He felt Ctheranes' memories surge forward, not as dreams but as instinct. He knew these creatures. Zarketh hunters. They'd killed his people. They'd killed his father. Wait, Ctheran wasn't his father. Was he? The confusion didn't matter. His body knew what to do even if his mind didn't. Heat built in his chest, traveling down his arms. His hand erupted in flames, but not normal fire. This was plasma, superheated matter that burned white-hot. The creature holding him shrieked and released him, its claws melting. "Impossible!" one of them shouted. "It's just a child." Marcus didn't think. He moved on pure survival instinct. Fire poured from his hands, streams of plasma that caught the second creature in the chest. It fell, burning from the inside out. The smell was horrible. The third creature pulled out a weapon, something that looked like it belonged in a science fiction movie. Energy crackled along its length. It aimed at Marcus. Sarah threw herself between them. No. The creature hesitated for just a second. That was enough. Marcus felt something else inside him wake up. His skin hardened, scales pushing through like armor. His eyes changed, pupils becoming slitted like a reptile's. He roared. It wasn't a human sound. The plasma that erupted from him wasn't a stream anymore. It was an explosion. The creature vanished in white fire. When the flames cleared, there was nothing left but scorched ground. Marcus stood in the middle of the market, breathing hard. His scales faded. His eyes returned to normal. He looked at his hands in horror. "Mom, what did I do? What am I?" People screamed and ran. Within minutes, security forces arrived with weapons drawn. Sarah pulled Marcus close, shielding him with her body. A hovering news drone captured everything. The footage went viral within the hour. By evening, it had reached Earth. By morning, every government on every human world had seen it. And 3,000 light-years away, in a war room buried deep beneath Earth's surface, Admiral James Kovac watched the footage for the 7th time. "Get me everything we have on the Terran's Edge incident," he ordered. "And find me Commander Sarachun. Now." Across the galaxy, Emperor Zaich Karn watched the same footage. His claws extended slowly. "So, the child has power. Good. That makes the hunt more satisfying." He turned to his generals. "Prepare the fleet. 500 ships. We will make an example of these humans. No one shelters Velkari filth and lives." His advisor bowed. "My lord, should we not offer him a chance to surrender the boy?" Z.H. Karn's laugh was cold. "Of course. Give them 30 days. Let them understand the futility of resistance. Let them know that their entire species will burn unless they hand over one child. Let us see what these humans truly value." In the apartment, Sarah held Marcus as he cried. He'd killed today. He was 10 years old, and he'd killed 3 beings. The dragon's memories told him they deserved it, that the Zarketh were monsters. But his human heart was broken anyway. "I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry." "Sure. You protected us. You protected everyone in that market." She kissed his forehead. "But everything's going to change now. They know about you, and they're coming." Marcus looked up with eyes that held ancient wisdom and childish fear in equal measure. "Who's coming?" "Everyone," Sarah whispered. The war that started with a whisper was about to explode into screams, and humanity didn't even know it yet. The message arrived on every human communication channel simultaneously. It appeared on government networks, civilian broadcasts, even personal devices. The being on the screen was nightmare made flesh. Emperor H. Karn had 12 eyes arranged and crowned around his elongated skull. His skin looked like polished obsidian. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of millennia. "Humans, you harbor an abomination, a creature infected with Velkari essence. Surrender the boy called Marcus Chun within 30 days, or your species will be erased from existence. This is not negotiation. This is mercy you do not deserve." The transmission ended. For 3 seconds, humanity stood in stunned silence. Then panic exploded across every world. In the United Earth Government headquarters, President Elena Vasquez stood before her cabinet. Half wanted to surrender Marcus immediately. The other half argued they couldn't even be sure aliens existed, that it might be an elaborate hoax. Admiral Kovac slammed his fist on the table. "It's real. We detected 500 ships entering our sensor range. They're moving toward us. Weapons signatures we can't even identify. We have 47 combat vessels. 47 against 500. Then we have no choice," the Secretary of Defense said quietly. "We give them the boy." "No." President Vasquez's voice cut through the arguing. "We don't sacrifice children. I don't care if it's 1 child or 1,000. That's not who we are." "Then you'll doom billions for 1 boy?" "I'll doom billions before I become the kind of leader who trades children for safety." She turned to Kovac. "Admiral, how long can we hold?" Kovac's laugh was bitter. "With current technology, maybe an hour. They'll cut through us like paper." Sarah and Marcus were brought to a secure facility deep underground. Scientists, military officers, and politicians all wanted to study him, question him, use him. Sarah stood between her son and everyone who tried to get too close. Marcus sat in the center of the room, trying to ignore the stares. Dr. Amara Okafor, a xenobiologist, approached carefully. Unlike the others, she didn't look at Marcus like he was a weapon or a monster. She looked at him like he was a scared kid. "Marcus, I know this is overwhelming, but we need your help. Those memories you have from Theron, can you access them? Really access them?" Marcus nodded slowly. "Sometimes. It's like watching someone else's dreams. I see things but don't always understand them. What if we helped? Guided you through meditation and focus techniques? The Velkari defeated the Zarketh before. Maybe their knowledge can help us do it again." Over the next weeks, Marcus worked with Dr. Okafor. He learned to dive deep into Theroness memories without losing himself. He saw things that made human technology look like stone tools. The Velkari didn't just use energy. They manipulated reality itself at the quantum level. They could bend space-time, create matter from nothing, turn themselves into living weapons. But the knowledge was overwhelming. Marcus would emerge from meditation sessions with blood running from his nose, crying from the weight of memories that spanned millions of years. Sarah held him each time, reminding him who he really was. "I'm scared, Mom," he whispered one night. "What if I stop being me? What if I become just Theron? You're my son. That's stronger than any memory, any power. You're Marcus Chun, who loves terrible jokes and hates vegetables and cries during sad movies. Don't you forget that." Meanwhile, human engineers worked frantically. Marcus had shown them how Velkari shields work by bending space itself around a ship. It took 3 weeks of nonstop work, but they managed a crude version. Every human combat ship was retrofitted. Weapons were another matter. Human missiles and railguns wouldn't scratch Zarketh armor. But Marcus remembered something else. The Velkari used focused plasma, matter heated to millions of degrees, and shaped by will. Humans couldn't do the shaping part, but they could create the plasma. New weapons were designed, tested, and installed. 28 days after the ultimatum, Zarketh scouts entered human space. They attacked Proxima Station, a mining colony with 2,000 people. Admiral Kovac sent 5 ships to defend it. The battle was brief and brutal. Zarketh vessels moved like dancers, their weapons tearing through space itself. But when they hit the human ships, something unexpected happened. The shields held. Not perfectly, not for long, but they held. Human plasma weapons fired back. One Zarketh scout exploded in a ball of superheated gas. Then another, then a third. The aliens had expected to swat aside primitive weapons. Instead, they were burning. 2 human ships were destroyed. The other 3 managed to drive off the scouts, protecting the colony. It was technically a loss, but it sent a message that echoed across the galaxy. Humans could fight back. In the underground facility, Marcus watched the battle footage. He saw human crews dying to protect people they'd never met. He saw them facing impossible odds without hesitation. Something Theranes' memories couldn't teach him crystallized in that moment. Dr. Okafor, he said quietly, I want to try something. Theron could create energy barriers across huge distances. I think I might be able to do the same. If I could protect our ships during battle. Marcus, you're 13 years old. That kind of power output could kill you. And if I do nothing, everyone dies anyway. He looked at his mother. I have to try. Theron gave me this for a reason. Sarah wanted to say no, wanted to grab her son and run to somewhere safe, if such a place existed anymore. But she saw the determination in his eyes. He'd already decided. Then we do it together, she said. Emperor ZH Karn received reports of the Proxima Station battle with cold fury. 3 scouts lost the primitives. It was humiliating. Worse, other species were watching. Species of Zarketh had conquered and ruled through fear. If humans could resist, others might try. Accelerate the timeline, he ordered. Full fleet advance. I want the human home world surrounded within 10 days. We will make their extinction slow. Educational. Let the galaxy remember what happens to those who defy us. Admiral Kovacs studied star charts, knowing there was no winning strategy. The Zarketh fleet was already past human defensive lines. Earth itself would be under siege soon. He had 42 ships left. The enemy had 497. But humans had one thing the Zarketh didn't account for. They had Marcus, a boy who remembered being a dragon and who refused to let his new family burn. The real war was about to begin. The message came through encrypted channels from 3 different species humanity didn't even know existed. Admiral Kovacs stared at the holographic projections of beings that looked like they belonged in a fantasy novel. The first was Chither, representing her hive species. She looked like a praying mantis crossed with a spider, her 4 arms gesturing gracefully as she spoke. Humans, we have watched your defiance with great interest. The Zarketh destroyed 17 of our colony worlds. We remember. We want revenge. The second was Mirkai Elder Deep Current, an aquatic being whose tank of water shimmered with bioluminescence. My people have suffered under Zarketh rule for 800 years. You are the first species to fight back in 3 centuries. Perhaps together we can do what none could alone. The third was Graven, a silicon-based life form that looked like living crystal. His voice sounded like wind chimes. The Zarketh fear the Velkari legacy. They should. Let us show them their fear is justified. President Vasquez didn't hesitate. If you're offering alliance, we accept. But know this, we're protecting a child. A boy who did nothing wrong except be chosen by a dying being. If that's a problem. Chither's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. Humans, we're not the Zarketh. We don't murder children. That is precisely why we fight them. The Terran Coalition was born in that moment. For species, 200 ships total against an empire that had ruled for millennia. Marcus was 16 now. 6 years of training had transformed him in ways Sarah still struggled to accept. He stood 6 feet tall, lean and strong. His eyes held ancient wisdom that no teenager should possess. When he concentrated, scales would ripple across his skin, diamond hard and shimmering with inner fire. He could survive in vacuum for 10 minutes. His body temperature could shift from normal to hot enough to melt steel. But what frightened Sarah most was watching him practice his full transformation. When Marcus let Theron's essence fully emerge, he became something else entirely. A being of fire and scale, with wings that crackled with plasma energy. He looked like the dragon Theron had been, but smaller, still growing into that power. How do you feel? Dr. Okafor asked after one training session. Marcus changed back to human form, breathing hard. Like I'm 2 people sharing one body. Like I'm Marcus, but I'm also Theron's son. Does that make sense? More than you know. You're becoming something new. Not human, not Velkari. Something better than both. The Coalition's first strategy session was chaos. For species with completely different ways of thinking tried to plan a defense. Chither wanted coordinated swarm tactics. Mirkai suggested biological warfare. Graven proposed using their near-indestructible soldiers as boarding parties. Humans just wanted everyone to stop talking and start doing. Admiral Kovac, now 60 years old with more gray than black in his hair, finally shouted everyone down. Listen, the Zarketh fleet will reach the Serpent's Gate wormhole in 3 days. If they get through, Earth is exposed. We make our stand there. All of us. Together. Chither clicked thoughtfully. A bottleneck strategy. Force them through a narrow point where numbers matter less. Clever for a young species. We're good at improvising, Kovac said dryly. Marcus will be aboard the flagship U.S. Defiance. Not as a weapon, though he was one. As a coordinator. His connection to Ctheranes memories gave him an instinctive understanding of three-dimensional combat that human admirals spent decades learning. And his power could create energy shields large enough to protect entire ship formations. The night before the battle, Sarah found Marcus on the observation deck, staring at the stars. She stood beside him silently. I killed people at the market when I was 10, Marcus said quietly. Tomorrow I'll kill thousands, maybe tens of thousands. How do you live with that? You remember Ctheranes memories. What does he tell you? That the Zarketh won't stop. That they'll keep killing until someone stops them. That sometimes violence is the only answer to violence. Marcus's hands clenched. But I'm also human. I'm also your son who cried when our cat died. How do I reconcile that? Sarah put her arm around him. You don't. You carry both. The compassion that makes you human, and the strength that makes you a dragon. That's what Theron saw in us. Not that we were warriors, that we were protectors. The Zarketh fleet emerged from hyperspace like a swarm of locusts. 497 warships, each one capable of destroying cities. Emperor Z.H. Karn commanded from his flagship, the Eternal Darkness. He expected this battle to last an hour at most. The Coalition fleet waited at the wormhole. 200 ships arranged in a formation that looked almost artistic. Human vessels at the center, Chither swarms flanking, Mirkai bioships lurking at the edges, Graven Fortress ships anchoring the formation. Z.H. Karn's 12 eyes studied the tactical display. They think to deny us passage? Amusing. All ships, forward assault, show these primitives what power truly means. The battle began with a Zarketh weapons barrage that should have vaporized the first wave. Instead, a shimmering barrier of energy appeared, spreading across the Coalition fleet like a protective bubble. Inside the Defiance, Marcus stood with his hands outstretched, eyes blazing with inner fire. His whole body glowed as he channeled power on a scale he'd never attempted before. Impossible. Z.H. Karn roared. Velcarry shielding. How? The Coalition counterattack was like nothing the Zarketh had faced. Human plasma weapons fired in coordinated volleys. Chither swarms overwhelmed targeting systems, dozens of small ships moving as one organism. Mirkai ships released biological agents that ate through Zarketh hull armor. Graven boarding pods crashed into enemy vessels, and soldiers that couldn't be killed by conventional weapons tore through corridors. But the Zarketh numbers were overwhelming. For every enemy ship destroyed, 3 more took its place. Coalition vessels began falling. Marcus pushed harder, his shield stretching to cover retreating ships, but blood ran from his nose. Marcus, pull back. Dr. Okafor shouted from the medical station. You're burning yourself out. Just a little longer, he gasped. Admiral Kovac made split-second decisions, ordering ships to fall back, others to surge forward. The battle became a brutal dance of death. Space filled with debris and burning ships from both sides. Then Marcus saw it. Emperor Z.H. Karn's flagship, the Eternal Darkness. He felt Ctheranes memories surge with recognition and hatred. That ship had killed his father, his other father, the Dragon Father. Marcus let the transformation take him fully. His human form melted away, replaced by scales and fire. Wings erupted from his back. He became a dragon, smaller than Theron had been, but burning just as bright. I'm going out there, he said, his voice deeper, resonating with power. Marcus, no. Sarah screamed from the observation deck, but he was already gone, launching from the airlock into the vacuum of space. A dragon flying between starships, impossible and beautiful and terrifying. ZH Karn saw him coming and finally understood fear. 5 years changed everything. What started as 4 desperate species fighting for survival became a coalition of 16. The Zarketh Empire crumbled as conquered races remembered they outnumbered their masters. Rebellions erupted across 1,000 worlds. The tyrants who ruled through fear discovered fear worked both ways. Marcus was 21 now, though he looked younger. Velcari genetics kept him strong and vital in ways human biology couldn't match. He'd become the Dragon of Terra, the living symbol of humanity's transformation from prey to predator. Holovitz showed him in both forms, human and dragon, fighting alongside coalition forces. Children across 16 species drew pictures of him. Songs were written about the boy who became fire. But fame meant nothing to Marcus. He still had nightmares about every life he'd taken. Still woke up crying some nights while Sarah held him, reminding him he was more than a weapon. The Coalition had pushed the Zarketh back to their home system. 12 species that once lived in terror now stood united at the enemy's doorstep. The final campaign, Operation Starbreak, was humanity's idea. Audacious, impossible, perfectly human. We're going to assault the Zarketh homeworld. Admiral Kovac announced to the War Council. He was 65 now, more cybernetics than flesh after injuries from a dozen battles. Not to conquer, to liberate. The other species representatives looked at him like he'd gone insane. Chither's current speaker clicked her mandibles nervously. The defenses around their homeworld are legendary. Millions will die. Millions are dying every day the Zarketh Empire exists, President Vasquez countered. She was serving her 3rd term now, elected by coalition vote rather than just human. We end this, once and for all. The fleet that assembled was the largest in galactic history. 800 ships from 16 species, all united behind one impossible goal. Marcus stood on the bridge of the Defiance, now a full battle carrier instead of just a flagship. His mother was beside him, older but still fierce, still protecting him even when he becomes something that didn't need protection. You don't have to do this, Sarah said quietly. You've done enough. Theranes memories show me what the Zarketh did to his people. The torture, the genocide, the cruelty without purpose. Marcus's eyes flickered with inner fire. This ends today. One way or another. The battle for the Zarketh homeworld was carnage. Orbital defense platforms that had stood for millennia fired weapons that could crack moons. The Coalition lost ships by the dozens. But they kept coming, wave after wave, refusing to break. Marcus flew between the warships in dragon form, plasma fire streaming from his jaws. He destroyed 3 defense platforms personally, his scales deflecting weapons that would have vaporized normal beings. Other Coalition forces punched through weakened sections, landing troops on the surface. But the real war was happening in orbit. Emperor H. Karn's palace station, a structure the size of a small moon, hung in space like a crown above his homeworld. That's where the Emperor waited, surrounded by his elite guards and forbidden technologies collected over millennia. Marcus felt the pull. Theranes memories demanded confrontation. Dragon versus tyrant. The ending Theron never got to have. He flew toward the palace station alone. Sarah watched from the Defiance, her hands pressed against the observation window. Come back to me, she whispered. Please come back. The palace interior was obsidian and gold, beautiful and terrible. Emperor H. Karn waited in the throne room, his 12 eyes tracking Marcus as he transformed back to human form. The Emperor was ancient, his body enhanced by technologies that should have been impossible. He radiated power that made reality bend around him. So the Velcari well finally comes, H. Karn hissed. Good. I will enjoy killing you personally as I killed Theron. You didn't kill him, Marcus said, feeling scales begin to ripple across his skin. He died protecting something you'll never understand. Hope. They clashed with violence that tore through the station. ZH Karn wielded energy weapons built into his cybernetic arms, each blast capable of vaporizing matter. Marcus countered with plasma fire and physical strength that could bend steel. They fought through corridors and chambers, destroying priceless artifacts and ancient technologies. The Emperor was faster, more experienced, enhanced by millennia of warfare. He'd fought and defeated hundreds of champions. Marcus was young, still learning his power, still human enough to feel pain and fear. ZH Karn's claws tore through Marcus's scales, drawing blood that steamed in the air. Energy weapons burned his flesh. The Emperor pinned him against the wall, all 12 eyes blazing with triumph. "You are nothing," H. Karn whispered. "A child playing at being a dragon." Ctherin died screaming. "So will you." Marcus felt Ctherin's memories surge, offering techniques and power he hadn't tried yet. He could tap into forces that would make him stronger, fast enough to win. But at what cost? Losing himself? Becoming only Ctherin's heir and not Sarah's son? Then he heard his mother's voice through his comm link. "Marcus, hold on. Coalition forces are breaking to the lower levels." And Admiral Kovac's gruff tone. "We're coming, son. Just survive." And Dr. Okafor. "You're not alone, Marcus. You've never been alone." And voices from 16 species, all fighting for the same thing. Freedom. Choice. The right to exist without fear. Marcus realized what Ctherin had been trying to teach him all along. Power wasn't just strength. It was connection. Family. The bonds between beings who chose to protect each other. He stopped fighting like a dragon and started fighting like a human who happened to have dragon powers. He stopped trying to match ZH Karn's experience and use his youth, his unpredictability, his human tendency to do things that didn't make tactical sense. When ZH Karn expected plasma fire, Marcus tackled him physically. When the Emperor prepared for physical combat, Marcus released a burst of energy that overloaded the station systems. And when ZH Karn tried to access the psychic network that kept billions enslaved across his empire, Marcus did something Ctherin's memories said was impossible. He destroyed it, burned through every connection with dragon fire fueled by human stubbornness and Velkari power combined. The network that had kept the Zarketh Empire functioning for millennia simply ceased to exist. Across hundreds of worlds, beings woke up, slaves who'd forgotten their own names suddenly remembered. Soldiers who'd killed without question suddenly understood what they'd done. The Empire didn't fall. It evaporated. ZH Karn screamed as his power base crumbled. Without the network, he was just one old being against forces he couldn't control anymore. Marcus stood over him, scales covering his body, eyes blazing. "I could kill you," Marcus said. "Ctherin's memories want me to, but I'm also human, and humans believe in justice, not revenge." He left the Emperor alive for the Coalition to judge. 50 years later, Marcus stood in the Museum of First Contact, looking at Ctherin's crystallized body. He was 71, but looked 40, Velkari genetics keeping him young. Sarah had passed away peacefully 5 years ago, holding his hand, proud of the man he'd become.